Hello beauty queens, beauty kings, and all of my beauties in between. This is my second take. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Faith. Today we are doing our component meal prepping and our mystery and meal prep. So, your component meal prep, you will be able to find the instructions on our blog at faithingandellis.com. As I go through cooking today, I will be telling you a story. My cooking components, you will notice I am utilizing a sour cream Parmesan chicken, courtesy of my boo. He made this for me and it's really delicious. I'm also going to be making some Italian turkey meatballs. We are making an herb quinoa for one of our carbohydrates, and I'm using a 90-second rice for my other carbohydrate, so I won't actually be prepping that. That's ready to heat up as I need to utilize it throughout a meal during the week. I also have frozen green beans, frozen peas as two of my vegetables. Again, you will not see me prep those. Those are there in the freezer, easy for me to pull out whenever I want to pair that with a meal this week. I will be prepping peppers and broccoli also. Our story today is not for those lovers of Christmas because, disclaimer, it might make you kind of get a little bit sad around that time of the year after you listen to this. So we're going to be talking about Charles Lawson. His story took place here in North Carolina, not very far from myself, where he murdered his wife and children. Let's get started. Christmas is an exciting day of the year for many. Unfortunately, the 8 Lawson children and their mother, Fanny, couldn't have possibly known what laid in store for them this year would not be something shiny and new, wrapped in a bow, but instead a nightmare, an end, at the hands of their father and husband. Charles Lawson was born May 10th of 1886 in Lawsonville, North Carolina. There wasn't much I could find on his childhood. Even so, can someone simply turn with the flip of a switch? Or did a deeper issue finally resurface? In 1987, Lawson and his wife Fanny had finally saved enough money from farming to buy their own farm. But a few months before the murders, during the renovations of their farm home, Charles Lawson had an accident where an axe hit him in the forehead. Now, there were no reported conclusions that came from this, but there was a theory. We'll get into that later. Just a couple of weeks before Christmas, Lawson had taken his whole family into Winston-Salem, which is just a couple hours away from me. There he bought them new clothes, an expensive spur-of-the-moment. You guys, I am so sorry that I have to interrupt a second here. I completely thought that I recorded the entire turkey meatball prep segment, and it turns out I guess my camera was full because I don't exactly delete videos because I'm paranoid that I might need one of them, and my camera stopped recording. So this is real food we're using. I can't just go back and prep new meatballs. So yeah, find those instructions on the blog and forgive me. Sorry. Spur of the moment trip. A little odd for a simple farmer in 1929. They dressed in their new bought finery and gathered together for a rare family portrait, likely their first during those times and certainly their last. Early Christmas morning, Charles Lawson and his eldest son, Arthur, went out hunting together. At some point, they ran out of ammunition, and Charles told Arthur to go into town and get some more. Meanwhile, Charles returned home and waited for his 2 daughters, Carrie and Mabel, behind the barn. Charles had saved some ammunition hidden from Arthur, and as Carrie and Mabel passed the barn on the way to their aunt and uncle's, Charles shot his 12 and 7-year-old daughters with a shotgun before bludgeoning them to death. Charles then went to his home where he shot his wife Fanny, who was sitting on their front porch. Walking into the 200-year-old farmhouse, there was Mary, who had been baking a cake for Christmas, and two of the boys, James and Raymond, who ran to hide. Charles shot Mary before finding the other two sons and shooting them both as well. Finally, Lawson gathered his small 3-month-old daughter, Mary Lou, and bludgeoned her to death. Arthur returned home, and it's assumed that he had been the one to sound the alarm to the police. But when police got there, they heard a gunshot in the woods from where Charles Lawson had turned the gun on himself, leaving Arthur to be the only one spared. The biggest question is, why did this happen? I also question why Charles left Arthur and killed the rest of his family. Now, there are two big theories here. The first being the incident from when Arthur had hit his head during the renovations. Had it somehow affected his mental state? Unfortunately, the autopsy could not link those two together, which brings us to our second theory. Word was there was an incestuous relationship between Charles and his daughter Mary. Rumor had it that Mary was pregnant with her father's child, and that both Charles and Fanny knew. But if Charles had killed his family to keep the truth hidden, why was Arthur, the eldest son, spared while his infant daughter was murdered? Unfortunately, more than 90 years later, we'll never know.